Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Essential Craftsman Podcast. I'm Nate, and I've got a great interview for you today with Anthony DiPinto from West Coast Custom Concrete. Anthony is a concrete contractor, and he has a really neat YouTube channel where he shares the videos of his concrete work. And I'm going to do something that I would almost never do normally, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler here in this intro about Anthony and tell you something that he'll tell himself later on. But I want to do this because if you're on the fence about whether to listen to this interview, I really think you might get more out of it than you expect. It's about much more than concrete. Anthony is a concrete pumper first and foremost, and he bought his first concrete pump after seeing one at a gas station and having a brief discussion with the fellow and deciding that sounds like a job for me. He went out, he put the money together, went out and bought a pump, having not only never operated one or ran one, but even being on a job where one was being operated. And if you know anything about concrete, if you've watched any of our videos about concrete, you know it's a high stress, sort of high pressure job when the mud's there, and the concrete is literally the funnel that the whole job kind of has to go through. And this guy who you're going to hear in this interview is just really inspiring in terms of his grit. And I think that may be the best word to describe his overall personality. I've loved watching his videos, and he talks a little bit about his background. Hopefully someday we can learn more about it, because I have a feeling there are some really amazing stories. This guy's really done and built something special through just a powerful personality, grit, determination, all of the really inspiring and important and intangible and almost unlearnable traits. You know, you almost seem to either have this sort of special grit or not. I don't know if that's true, but he certainly has it. And I couldn't be more pleased to bring you this discussion. The audio in this discussion is pretty good. It's probably not our best, but you're going to definitely be able to get the important parts out of this discussion. With no further ado, Anthony DiPinto from West Coast Custom Concrete.
So how did you find my channel? Just looking through YouTube?
You know, it's like probably most of the people who find it, like I'm always watching work-related things, and your stair video popped up in the little side thing, and I was like, oh, that looks like a lot of stairs. And I watched that video and I loved it. And then you noticed that, like, wow, this guy's been putting out a lot of content. And so then I just watched a bunch of videos and really enjoyed it. But that was definitely the one that they're using to hook people.
Yeah, that's cool. I always wonder. I never generally ask, but I was kind of curious because I'm like, I wonder how he found it. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's tough. I try to not like guess how YouTube does it. You know, like try to satisfy them. I try to just kind of make the best videos we can, and you can just tell when somebody's doing that. Like same with you, like with that video, it's just like all your other videos. They're all great. It's all the same type of thing, but for some reason they decided that that's the one that they really want to promote. Popular Mechanics featured that on a big article, and that's what backed that up and what pushed that thing. That's how it got on the map, that staircase. They did a big article on me on West Coast Custom Concrete and that staircase in particular, and it just exploded, that video. As far as the algorithms and stuff go, that's what backed that thing and pushed it. Yeah. If you go on that video again and you go on the comments, I pinned the article on the top comment. Got it.
If you didn't see it, you could check it out.
What is it that was a big job, and you obviously filmed the whole thing. What was it that got you started filming your jobs? And I know that wasn't maybe the first job you ever filmed, but it adds a lot of work to drag a camera around and do all that. So what was it that kind of got you thinking that way?
Well, I waited out and I looked at YouTube. I had never seen it before, and I had asked my niece, which is younger. You need a younger kid to explain these things to you these days, who grew up with it. And I said, what is YouTube? And what is this? Anyone could put a video up? And she said, yeah. And I said, like anything. I thought it was like TV shows and stuff. I never really looked at it. And then I'd scrolled through some videos and I'd been watching about a week. And I had no idea of ever thinking that a concrete or a construction video would be on there. And I actually saw your dad's video on a Topcast and I was blown away. It mesmerized me. And then I said, well, I got $600 at that time. I wasn't doing too well. And I spent 300 on a camera and I'll roll the dice and I will talk my talk and we will get this going. And that's exactly what happened. But my brain kept spinning to wormholes all night long because I have OCD the way my brain, it just kept working on YouTube. I just kept seeing all the avenues. It blew me away. So I knew very shortly at some point that it would pay off. And at the very least, when people called me, instead of driving there, wasting my time and bidding, like you guys probably know, I would send them a video and they see me in action. And what better promotion could you do than that? So that was the very least of my anticipation of what I thought in the beginning of what I was going to get out of it. And I could show my kids who I am because I was missing a lot of time with them and what I do. And that was the whole premise behind starting it.
There's a lot of trades, not just concrete, where I feel like people are curious about what's going on and how it works. So do you recommend that to people you're around? Like, you should film this and put it on YouTube. In other words, have you gotten more work? And you said your phone's ringing a lot now. So separate from YouTube, is your concrete business like getting a benefit from the videos?
100%. I would encourage people because I would want people to do better at what they're doing. And 100% of my jobs come from YouTube. So I went from flatline coming out of a recession to all my contacts went away to be relevant again because of YouTube, 100%. How would you market yourself? You're going to pay a couple $1,000 to Yelp. I've never paid any advertisement, but I was stonewalled. I was beside myself. And then you're not coming with a name. You're not coming with a video. It's very hard to sell yourself and convince people with 5 other bids that you're better than them.
Yeah.
And your price is right. You don't necessarily, you want to be known as somebody who's expensive but worth it. But without a people are visual, it doesn't work. It's very hard to do.
In a small town,
I don't do any selling.
Yeah, we're in a small town, and around here, you can almost, the contractor, you're going to see people again. It's like you have to kind of be careful because it'd be hard to scam people and you very quickly get uncovered, like nobody would work with you. But where you're at, there's so many people, it's very easy for people to kind of be, I would guess a lot of customers are a little concerned, like, this guy, has he ever poured concrete in his life? How would I judge him? And so I hear what you're saying. It's probably really powerful.
100%, brother. Because I would go out there and you almost start digging a hole, overselling yourself. And when you talk too much, one of my motto is I don't talk very much when I go out to the job. I talk business. I'm never cavalier about money. For the first things I get on, most people don't talk about money. Well, this is a little bit about money. That's why I'm here. So I have no problem. And I'll throw numbers and I'll square footage and I'll start throwing numbers and I'll watch their body language and I can already read them. Which where I'm going with this. I know exactly, okay, they're down with their, who I am and what I am. But with the YouTube, I just do it over the phone and they send me pictures and I line up 10 in a row. I mean, in a day.
Wow.
Without it, I would never be where I'm at.
Especially in Orange County, I spent a few months there, enough to know that even Orange County's pretty congested, but all of LA, it's just crazy. And like, I would imagine driving across town to bid a job can wreck your whole day. And so to what extent are you trying to work just in a little area, or did you kind of just have to reach out and cover the all of the city? Or how do people do that there? It just seems like one end of town to the other is hours.
I have a whole unique, I use PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, as my highway. All the jobs are along the beach. My friends call me Tri-City because I work Newport, Laguna, and Huntington. If it's not in there, I'm like, no, I'm not going. And basically that's what I can do. And then I'll get a lull and I won't mind going 20 minutes out, but I don't go much farther than that. But there's so many people that are so complimentary that's met me on YouTube or saw me and they're like, hey, I'm this far away. I know it's far for you, but I'd be honored for you to do it. And I don't know if you've ever heard that before, because prior to YouTube, I never heard anyone that was honored to have me do their job. So I'm obligated in a way. They're paying, going rate, and I'll go over there. It's not, I'm opposite traffic if I go inland. All the traffic's coming to the beach.
Yeah.
And then when I come home, it's going out of the beach, you know? So it's not a big issue.
Just space in general. I was watching one of your videos where you were transporting and digging out between two houses on a steep hill, and there's only like 6 feet to work with. And I was just kind of visualizing how challenging it must be in like these super developed cities where even just setting like a dump truck on the road can be an issue. So what's that like working when there's space is so limited, or is it just kind of like another day at the office and that's just how it goes? Or to what extent are you like factoring that in?
Well, it's generally, that's the going rate. So that's what I'm used to. In Orange County, the zip codes I'm at, that, you know, it's $3,000, $4,000 a square foot to buy a house in these areas. So that zip code and that every square foot is used up. So they're cramming them on, the builders are cramming them. But you're from a more rural area, it seems weird to you. But for me, I pumped exclusively in that area for 3 years. I've been on every street. That was in Laguna Beach. So for me, I was just used to it. It's a pain, but you know, there's nothing spread out, put it that way. So I'm not used to it.
Yeah. And I guess the residents are used to it as well. Like if there's a concrete truck in the middle of the road, that's just how it goes when you live there. Like there's people trying to get jobs done and you just kind of deal with it.
Well, that particular job you were referring to, that street up above, none of the block places or deliveries will go on that street. It's so narrow. Mm-hmm. You have to back the truck in and you can't turn around. So I head my pump in and it takes me about 15 minutes at the end of that street to turn around. It's that bad because I can't back the pump out of there. It's completely blind down the hill, you know. But the neighbors, you just block it, the street, everyone goes, go. And it's like like a football team, you just go. Because you're blocking the street, they literally can't get by, which if you lived up there and you got a $10 million house, I'm going to be a little annoyed. And there's 5 houses under construction right there. You know, so there's trucks. So, you know what I mean? I can understand their pain, but, you know, I just try and diplomatically tell them, hey, man, I'm sorry. I'm going to go as fast as I can and get this thing out of your way. There's like 5 cars backed up, you know?
You've mentioned in a few of your videos, and I'd love to actually hear the story from the beginning, how you started pumping. And it sounds like when you started pumping, you weren't necessarily like, you know, coming from a long family of concrete pumpers. So could you tell us how you got into pumping? I didn't
have the essential craftsmanship. My dad, I was actually adopted by my grandparents. I was adopted by my grandparents who had nothing to do with construction or concrete or any phase of it. And no one in my family does. I was like 31 or so, and I was at a gas station and a guy pulled up with a pump and I was like, what the heck is that thing? So I started talking to the guy. This is literally how it started. And the guy said, oh, I do this and this is how you pump it. And I was trying to picture a truck backing up and do it. I was really amazed by it, kind of mesmerized. And I said, well, how many hours do you work a day? And he said 4. And then I was in. I said, how much you make a day? And he told me, and I'm like, this is what I was supposed to do. So I had a brand new Toyota Tacoma truck because I don't have the attention span to like show up to a job for 8 hours. It's just not me. You know what I mean? It's not my DNA. I should be running across the field in Rome or something. I just can't handle it. I mean, it's a death sentence for me to be a just soul crushing job. I can see. So he told me, I sold my truck. I had some money from my grandparents, and then I bought a pump and a truck the next week, and I just went for it. And it wasn't the path to least resistant, Nate. Let me tell you that.
So in other words, you had never operated or like been on a pumping crew or anything. You got literally the pump first.
The pump I bought was the second pump I ever saw, and the guy explained it to me for about 20 minutes. And I just drove around and I carded people where I saw a trowel or a wheelbarrow or construction sites, and I knew this isn't giving me any longevity with these people I'm learning from, but I'm going to come out here and give this a shot. And needless to say, it didn't go well for a year. I actually ended up in the cab of the truck, but I don't really need a house at the time. That's just the kind of individual I was. I didn't look at that kind of stuff. I was just focused on what I was doing. And I get tunnel vision. And I started thinking of the mechanics of the truck. And then I went mentally inside of the hose of what was going on, how it was separating. I grabbed the concrete and looked at the components of it. And I started figuring out how it was separating. So then I started figuring out how to do it. You know?
Wow. So concrete's already pretty stressful, even for the seasoned
Oh,
pros. What was that like? Being on some of those early jobs, and they're kind of relying on you. I mean, that seems like it'd be pretty easy to crack. But how'd those go, and how'd you get through that?
about 5 months into it, I would get in a circle. I swear, with the truck would show up, and I'd say a prayer with the finishers. I go, come here, and I'd grab their hand. It was getting so bad because I'd show up early, and everyone was cool and I'm personable. So like, oh, this guy's cool, and I knew it was going to turn ugly. So I'd get oh God, I'd see the truck in my stomach would just go, oh God. But I'm so stubborn that I just there's just no, and I didn't care. I just was like the Terminator doing it. I could care less, really, to be honest with you.
So what kind of issues?
Crazy.
I mean, were you having issues with equipment, or what was like the thing that you had to figure out about pumping that nobody taught you, that you had to learn the hard way? Because somebody listening to this might think, you just turn on the machine and it does the job. But what parts of the actual task were giving you trouble?
Well, I had really the crappy equipment to begin with. That if I got up $1,500, it would break, and it would cost me $1,500. So I was constantly dead even, broke. Oh, am I going to eat tonight, or what's going on? So I got going enough, and I got the right pump, which is the one I run now. And then it started to take off better. And figuring it out, it's really tricky. And as it plugs up, and as you keep doing it, you can figure it out, like where it's plugged. It's in the reducer, in the manifold. You just keep doing it till you get better and better. And when you plug every day for a year, like I did, you get pretty good at it. I mean, I plugged more than a year than a guy would in a 20-year career, probably. Then I met a lot of other pumpers later, and I would tell them these stories, and they just couldn't believe it. They'd tell this guy this story. So I was constantly telling these crazy stories to the point of where I was could tell.
Yeah, I'm sure. How often do you bump into concrete guys who kind of knew you when you were starting out and can see like where you're at now? Do you bump into some of those guys to this day?
Yeah, and a lot of the question is, how did you do what you did? And I don't really know how to answer it. Like it's just mind-boggling. Like people would say I'd run them to Home Depot, or I'll go pump for one. But there was a guy at a ready mix plant that I hooked up with that really built my clientele in my career. And he went on a limb. He didn't really know me. I just told him the situation. And there's miracles God will do for you if you're doing the right thing. If you work hard, you're honest. I was in the worst positions where you just want to just lay down and die. It's so bad. And I met him, told him the situation. Immediately, guy took a liking to me, and he basically built my business. I don't want to say his name because he still works at the same ready mix plant, and he took a lot of heat on that relationship we had.
Huh. Wow. Did he give you, or can you tell us like what other people were kind of mentoring you and helping you? Because I'm sure it was easy to pick on you, but I'm guessing there was somebody along the way who's like, okay, look at Anthony, here's a little tip.
No, the concrete pumpers out here are not forthright with info because they all want to hoard it to it. Like they'd be talking, and they might as well be talking in Chinese. I didn't even know what the heck they were saying. I would run into them, and they had cliques and groups. It's almost like a high school deal.
Got it.
I would ask questions and stuff, and they wouldn't. I basically did it through him giving me jobs, building customers. But I really didn't want to tell him I was inexperienced, the dispatcher I met, so it didn't seem like a good thing to say. So he just kept sending me, and I just kept pulling it off. And then one thing led to another until I was the number one guy out of the plant, and I had like 4 pumps.
That's
within
incredible.
2 years.
That's just incredible. And like you said, you've probably unclogged more hoses than most of those other fellows anyway. So after a year, they weren't going to teach you anything about unclogging a hose.
Well, at the beginning of it, God had given me almost superhuman strength, but I wasn't too bright when I was starting it as far as mechanical stuff. I just didn't get it. And now hydraulics are like second nature, diesel motors. I mean, I could sit there on hours for people calling me on the phone. I could tell them over the phone. My guys that were pumping for me would call me, and I'd say, calm down, I'm all plugged up. And I could unplug it over the phone and tell them right where it was. I don't know how to read any of the gauges. I do it all by ear. I don't even know what the gauges are.
You can just kind of hear like where it stops and like the difference in the noises.
Yeah. It's really kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, so it's I'm guessing it's not like you can recommend somebody follow your exact career path in this way, because it was only possible because of who you are and the, I don't know if you call it drive or focus or stubbornness.
Nothing to lose.
Yeah, but you're really going for it. But what's that like looking back at it now? Because does it seem kind of like, I don't know, I guess you're on the other side of it now. So does it seem like it was?
No, I look back. Sometimes I'm driving and I'll have like deja vu and I'll picture something I forgot about, and I'll almost have to pull over laughing. Like, God, I can't even imagine being in that position.
Yeah.
But people from all over the world obsessively call me. I want to start pumping, and I can't advise them to go buy a pump because I don't want to lead them the wrong way, because I don't know if they can pull that off, and it's a big investment.
Yeah.
So it's hard to advise people about that situation. I always say, go around your city, find a pump company who's hiring a guy, work for them for a year, and then you buy your own stuff and you're turnkey. That would be my advice.
A lot of people, myself included, like the idea of, failing or looking kind of silly in front of other people is really terrifying. And with a concrete pump, if you have a failure or a plug, there's no hiding it, kind of. So how are you able to sort of like get over that? The fear of failing clearly doesn't like scare you, but it does some people. So what do you say to someone who's kind of stuck at that part?
Well, I had nothing to lose, and the way I see it, if you're working hard and you're trying, you need to be challenged every day. If you go sit at a desk, you don't do anything. I loved that I was going to be challenged. I'd drive there and going, oh, this is going to be insane. And it turned me on. I got really excited about it, to have a challenge like that and to figure it out. And when you're that busy and you're that learning something, it's the old adverb that a rolling stone gathers no moss. Your brain is working. You're not getting depressed. You're not getting sleep problems. I'd come home and fall face first. So for me to do it myself, I'd been laying around at the beach for a decade. I never had a job. So yeah, let's get down on it.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. So in terms of your life in general, I know you have at least a daughter, because I saw her leave a comment on a video, but can you describe where, like at that time in your career, did you have kids or a family or that were sort of in the picture right then? Because I know for a lot of people, myself included, it's easy to be, you don't have to worry about things too much when you're single with no family. But as soon as I had kids, it's like a whole different situation. To this day, it's kind of like it's just a different game now.
So weird you brought that up. I was thinking about that today before I was going to talk to you, that when I started, I had nothing to lose because I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. And then 2 years into it's when I got married, and I have two daughters, Sydney and Samantha, and they were little. So I had even more before, but I had it dialed when I was really well off when they were born, because I already had, I think, 3 or 4 concrete pumps, and I had, I think, 3 skid steers and 2 or 3 dump trucks. I don't remember, because I started pumping, and I'm always the guy that doesn't want, okay, you're just a pumper, but okay, yeah, that's good, but who demoed this? Oh, some Bobcat guy. How much did he charge you? To my pump customers that already liked me. What if I buy a Bobcat and a dump? Would you use me? Yeah, I hate that guy, or whatever the situation. He overcharges me. So I'm like, okay, I'll go buy it next week. So I bought that. And then that was a whole nother. The first time I went on it, I flipped it over. And I hit the dump truck tire and it exploded it. In the steel belt, I had like blood marks all over my face. And it blew it back standing straight up. It was insane. And I lay down for like a couple hours and just go, what the heck? And then a week later, I was in big country out of a hill, and I went over backwards on that down the hill. So I was like, oh man, I don't know if this is for me. But then I just kept doing it, and then I got, like I am at pumping at it probably. I would run a pump for 2 weeks, and I would get on the tractor for 2 weeks, but I had crews on both, I had other pumpers who worked for me, and I had other skid steers. So I picked whatever I wanted to do. So it was great. If I just did one, I'd like, I hate this. I'm sick of it. I'd go on the other one. I'd do it, and I go, I'm sick of this one,
Yeah.
I didn't want to be pigeonholed just to do one thing.
It seems like starting concrete as a pumper as opposed to like a finisher or something is a good place to be, because you can probably always find finishers as needed. But when you have the pump, I'm wondering if it was like kind of an easy step for you to start doing your own jobs starting as a pumper, to becoming the contractor you are now, and if that's a good sort of, something people should think of.
I was, yeah, for sure. I was always doing it as a pumper. I just didn't realize it because every job I went on, hey, Anthony, how many yards should we order on the cleanup? Hey, Anthony, well, how should we, I was answering all these questions, and then they were calling me nonstop. My regular pump customers to ask me, how would you bid this? How would you do this? I just didn't realize I knew it all. I mean, I knew all that stuff. And then when I bought the Bobcat and the dump, I knew right before that recession, I knew it was going to hit. So I went and got a contractor's license with no intention of really using it, because people sub me work a lot. I'd grab some finishers off a job. I would go and do it, but I mainly just ran the service. And then I diversified it with all three things. So I thought this recession is going to be tough, but one of these will hit, but none of them hit. They all flatlined.
Yeah.
And I wrote that out for like 7 or 8 years. It's horrible. Your dad probably knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
That thing was brutal.
Yeah.
And then when I came back and reinvented myself, I came back as no more service because all my customers were gone. They all went out of business in that recession. So when I tried to step back in it, nobody knew me. So I'm not, and I don't have the dispatcher access I had. So I'm not going to rebuild this. That's obvious. And then I tried to hit people up to run the tractors because I still had setups of everything. And that wasn't going well because people were half price. And I'm not willing to do that. Except a couple of times I had to, but then I said, okay, I'm going to contract, started doing a little bit of that, and immediately started the YouTube. That was basically the beginning of my contracting career, was that first video you saw.
That is
the first
amazing.
video I did. Yeah. I said, I'm going to film this from the beginning, and I'm just going to steamroll. I'm just going to take this thing over. And then I had $600. I lived in a field, and I bought a camera.
and filmed those first few jobs, and then bang, all of a sudden. So what? I remember when when we were first making videos, it was going fine. And then we had one that just went nuts, and it was really insane. I'll never forget like how exciting it was. And it was just absolutely bonkers. I was like staring at my phone at like midnight that night. And I was getting these email alerts from YouTube, like, you got a new subscriber. And my phone was just like melting down until it shut off. And I went to sleep just going like, I don't know what's going to happen in the morning. And in the morning we had like 5,000 subscribers or something. And it was wild. I'll never forget it. Did you have an experience kind of like that?
Yeah. That staircase when it went on, it was kind of just not disappointing because I was starting to get work through the videos by showing the customers. And then when they found Popular Mechanics and I didn't know I was in there, and it did the same exact thing. And I'm like, whoa, what the heck? And then it just was going bing, bing, bing. And I was like, whoa. But it's a double-edged sword because then it peaks up and then it mellows out and then it dips down. It's just something you got to be consistent with, but you can't let your mood swing with it, your YouTube numbers or whatever they are.
And I think it reminds me of your pumping career when you're starting, and like the downside of, let's say, failing, but struggling or whatever is obvious. But the plus side is you are not really afraid of trying something, or like you said, what's the worst that can happen? And certainly with putting videos on YouTube, I'm sure that was like nothing compared to some of the situations you got in with your concrete pump, right?
Yeah, but I was more quiet, shy. So to come out and talk on it was the hardest part for me.
Yeah. So how have you done that?
I didn't really want to do that. Excuse me?
Yeah. How have you done that? Like, because I'm not, my dad's a natural, and he's a natural because he's practiced a lot. So actually, I should take that back. He's practiced a ton in his life. He speaks all the time at church and in public settings. And so he has a very well-developed skill that he's worked on that I don't have. And so I'm wondering how you have worked on that, because maybe you're like me and it was not real natural, but it seems natural now.
Oh, it was horrible. That's why I played piano music and I just did subtitles and stuff the first few, and I started getting angry about not wanting to do it because I'm like, this is, God's telling me this is, go for it. This is what you're going to do. So then I just got upset about it. I just told the camera girl, no more Robotronic talking, no more subtitles, just give me the mic. And I just started talking. That's it. I'm done with this crap. It was starting to bother me. What's been the most speaking? I don't like.
What's been the most like surprising part about that? I mean, and I know in a lot of ways, you really get to know your audience, and you get a lot of comments on your videos. And has there been some part of that that's been surprising to you? In other words, what the people seem to enjoy the most? And I say this because I know a lot of people probably are sending really personal comments that it's kind of inspiring to hear you talk about these jobs and such. So is there some part of it that's been, maybe surprising?
Well, that's the part I wanted with the people who were in the positions that I were, maybe not the people that's doing so well. That's what I was originally wanting to target. Maybe somebody who didn't have confidence or anxiety was scared to take a leap. That was the whole premise at the beginning. And that's why it took me a little while to feel comfortable to talk about that, because I generally don't talk about it to anybody, not even my friends, about things I've had, being homeless, different stuff. And then somehow it just came out of me in the video. I never plan them. I'm usually sleeping on the couch, and my camera girl wakes me up at midnight and says, "Here, voice this." And I'm like, that's why a lot of people say, "You sound like you're sleeping." And I'm like, I literally was. And I don't see the videos. Do you want to see it? No, I just want to get this thing done and go back to bed. I'll voice it, and then I go back to bed.
Wow.
Literally every one of them.
Wow,
I never see them, and I never premeditate it. I never see them. I never watch it prior. I never see how she edited it.
So you just kind of go through it once live, record what you're watching, one take. Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah. I've never started off, and I've never started over. I've stopped once or twice because I don't pronunciate stuff right very good. So I go, "Oh, stop that." And then we stop and have to go. I've done it twice out of like 90 videos where she had to go back a couple seconds. I had to re-say it, where I sounded like I was totally out of it. It's better off just to wing it off the cuff.
That is absolutely fascinating. And wow, that for the listeners who are paying attention, that's not normal. Like a lot of times it's like taking a picture of yourself where you like take like 100 and then like before you're happy. And I'll even record like for this episode right now, I'm telling you, Anthony, I'm going to record an intro, and it's probably going to take me like 15 tries to feel like it's right. And then I'm still going to be like, but anyways, that's not normal that you do it that way. And
I'm really impatient. So I'm going to shove a square peg to a round circle. That's the way I am. I am so impatient that it's incredible. Like, just do it. That's good enough.
That's amazing. Hey, what do your girls think about it?
Job are like that. Oh, they love it. Now they're over me talking about it. Yeah. Don't you want to talk about it? So they just give me a hard time. They have good-hearted, but they want to do other things.
Yeah.
Did you watch it? Yeah, I did. Leave me alone. At first, they were like, "Oh man," and they're all over it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, a couple more questions about concrete for you, and I just want to get your opinion on this because my dad has the mindset, and it makes perfect sense, generally speaking. If you're pouring concrete, put rebar in it. There's no reason not to, and that makes perfect sense. And then I see other great jobs get poured, and I learned from a guy that McDonald's never puts any rebar in their drive-throughs. It's like 8 or 10 inches thick. But
I poured them.
Something like,
because they're going to demo it. They're going to demo it out, re-pour it.
Oh, okay. Again. So are you on the rebar no matter what side of the line?
I put it in everything, but there's a misconception. Rebar doesn't help with cracking. It does nothing for cracks. It gives it tensile strength, and it keeps it as one piece. So if a root lifts it, it has to lift the whole piece. The root will grow along the bottom, and it can't lift it. Microfibers help with cracking, which I've 100 in a row. I haven't had one hairline. Microfibers in the mix.
Yeah.
So rebar doesn't help with cracking.
Interesting.
People think it does.
But you put it in there just to help with the tensile, no matter what. There's no reason not to, more or less.
Just for 10, 20 years down the road, it won't heave or separate for the people who paid that kind of money for that. Yeah. So I put it in every single thing I pour. But microfibers in the mix for the cracks are not the long ones. They've got to be the micros, work really good.
So
and then I don't use fly ash.
It still cracks, right? Like those microfibers, I get that they hold it together, but are you saying it doesn't crack at all, or you just can't see them, or what's actually happening with the concrete when those microfibers are in it?
Well, there's like a billion little nylon hairs that bind together. And when I demo concrete, I've demoed concrete with no rebar or wire in it, And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm just drilling it with my breaker. And then I break it apart and I grab it and look at it. I could see the hairs in it. That's how well it holds it together. I can tell with a breaker, with an 800-pound breaker on it. You know, so that stuff definitely works because I've seen it with my own eyes trying to break it.
Interesting.
And the proof's in the pudding of the jobs I pour day in and day out with no cracking. I join it up a lot. I mean, it might crack in some of my control joints, but there's no hairlines going across or off the corners or nothing.
Yeah.
So definitely.
A couple of your guys, well, all of your guys on these jobs, I'm always struck, and they just seem like the best kind of concrete guys, like just iconic, friendly, and strong, and like just clean cut. And is that
really
what they're like?
You picked up on that.
They seem great.
That's a better description than I could give. That's exactly what they are. They're actually better people than they are what you see working. I mean, you can't find better guys, nicer guys. There's no cussing. There's no arguing. There's no freaking out. The concrete's on the ground. Everyone would start laughing if somebody freaked out. Like, what? I mean, we're so far ahead of the game, the way we pour, the way I man it. Javier and I, you know, the way we've done it for years together often. I used to pump for him prior to, you know, him doing this. I mean, the guy's temperament is, I get wound up about stuff and he always goes, whoa, Anthony, just going, you know. And right when I look at him and he starts that, I go, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Because I start yelling and stuff, like different stuff. You know, you may be tired or have had a bad day or whatever. You know, they're just as steady as a rock, every one of them.
God, it's something like amazing. I'm sure just having them on like a big job you do, just having professionals on site, even if something does get sideways, like you just know you're going to be fine with those guys on deck, right? That's probably really good.
Yeah, you always want to overman a guy too. I bid it, like if it would be 3 guys, I bid it for 4. Javier wants 3, I say bring another one, and then he can skate that hallway. We'll lose him over there. You can cut the joints, and it makes it really, you know, it cuts down the job so much on each guy day in and day out. These other guys I pumped for years. That's what, you know, basically baptized me, watching these guys run around with their chicken with their head cut off, or this stuff's blowing up on them, and I leave. I'm like, man, those guys are screwed. You know, when I used to pump, it's like, man, why not just man it correctly, bid the job correctly? It comes out perfect every single time. You know, it's not really. If you man it right, you bid it right. You really can't. If something went wrong, it's just, you know, collateral damage, something that nothing's perfect in life, but generally 99% you're good.
Yeah. Is it difficult for you to bid a job right? Because I know sometimes it's not that fun to like tell somebody a price that's going to shock them. And how do you do that when you're like delivering a number to the homeowner that you know is going to like blow their hair back?
I have no shame. I mean, for me, it's the way I feed my family. There's a going rate. It's a mutual benefit. You have a guy that's really good. You can hire somebody who's completely like some of these people out here in the work I see. You can get that, and it's not like you can repaint it like it's a paint job. I mean, you got to demo this out or live with it. The water is going to pool at your house. You're going to get black mold. It's got to run away. They don't know elevations. There's a lot of factors to why you're getting paid, what you're getting paid. So I'm not ashamed to say the price because I have numbers in my head and I know exactly where to be. I bid $1 million jobs before when I did commercial and stuff, and I would get them, and I know exactly how to do it. If they don't want me to do it, I'm not offended.
Yeah, you're taking a big risk if you do it for less than that or try to help them out. It's like you are then taking risk and it on your own shoulders when it's not your project, and so you shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah. I did it in the recession when I basically wasn't going to eat unless I did it, and it baptized me. I mean, I knew what was going on, and I just said, when this turns, I'm going to be a millionaire again, and it will go that way. I had to do it, but I will not do it now. No, I did it before, but my back was against the wall. That's why I did it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my last question for you, I imagine there's someone listening to this, maybe not a concrete guy. And we mentioned that you kind of started filming with advertising in mind, but can you walk through exactly how you do film it? Do you just kind of carry your camera around? Do you set on a tripod? I want people to understand how they may be overthinking what it takes to put this content together, and how do you go about it? Because it seems like you've got a good system.
That's a really good point too you just made, because people do think you have a whole camera crew and this elaborate setup. I mentioned before to you that I started with a $300 camera. I had which is my niece, is my camera girl, Kristen. She would walk around and film it. She was computer savvy from growing up with him, being younger. We got a cheap video editing program. It was like $100 a year. She would edit it the best she can. She had been around it, so you got to know the stages of how to cut it and film it and edit it up and then voice it over. And then recently, we got a much nicer camera. Obviously, as you start making money off YouTube, now it's a business. So you invest in it, you get better stuff. I have like a probably $1,700 camera now. And then I have some action cameras that we just got into that you wear on your head or on your chest when I'm on equipment. We just got into doing that. So next couple of videos, I'll have it on my head. I actually used it on the tractor on the skid steer, but I had it on my chest. Was not a good vantage point. So we couldn't use the footage. You learn as you go. So I'm going to wear it on my head on Wednesday. That should be a good one because I'll have it on my head.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. Yeah, that'll be fun.
But it's a very small investment. It's mainly your time, which isn't costing you anything when you're learning. So I would encourage everybody to film whatever they do. You never know where it's going to go. If your heart's in it and you want to do it, you could do it with a $200 GoPro if you want to. It's not a large investment.
Yeah, and most folks with a decent cell phone, that camera is incredible for this kind of thing too. If you have storage on it, mine's always full, but
those you wouldn't even actually need a camera. You could just use your phone, and it's a 2-for-1. It's your phone and computer and your camera crew.
I know. I'm always kind of annoyed because like a lot of our best videos were just filmed on my cell phone, and we've upgraded a lot since then. I mean, it was back in the day, but
how do you guys film now?
Well, I have a couple cameras that are like DSLRs.
Oh, like bigger nice. Video cameras. Do the filming?
Yeah, I do.
When your dad's out in the field, you do the filming?
Yep.
Oh, nice. You edit? Oh, you have a girl edit. It's nice.
Yeah.
I congratulate you guys on that. Oh.
Yeah, it works pretty well. We've started small, and we definitely have an advantage with this division of labor where he has the expertise and the skills to share, and I can kind of figure the other things out. I don't think I have the expertise, but I certainly can figure it out. So we've upgraded, but I don't think YouTube really cares actually how high a quality the video and audio is, as proved by our videos. They don't really care. And so for people who are overthinking it, you don't need to.
If it's too high a resolution, they'll compress it and pixelate, and it comes out all fuzzy. It happened to me because not everybody has 4K. You know what I mean? So you're going to buy an 8K drone. They can't even compress it and download it onto YouTube. And who has an 8K TV to watch it on? So it's going to go that way. So I have a 4K. Everything I have is 4K, but I just downloaded in 1080p because it was compressing it, pixelated. Everyone was griping when I did that. So once you know those things, but it's just like the concrete pumping. You just figure it out as you go. That's how life is, right?
Well, do you have anything big on the horizon? Any big jobs or videos coming up that you can tease about to get people interested in what's coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, I got some. I got a lot of videos coming up, but they're like garage floors. In the summer, I'm gonna go after some like big staircases, more stuff where I know it's not gonna get rained on. I've done plenty in the winter. I've done like 30 jobs this winter. I have like 10 more on the book. So I'll take a few weeks off, go to Catalina or something. Maybe up north, maybe come visit you guys. And
that'd be amazing.
Then I'll get back on it. Because I basically can get any level of jobs I want to do. It's just how motivated I am. Do I really want to do something that's or do I want to go to the beach? Because that's been my passion my whole life.
Yeah. I take it you surf all over Huntington and Orange County?
Yeah, I ride my bike down to Balboa from New Huntington, and I'll get a cappuccino, hit the wedge, body surf, ride back, go to the street fair. I mean, how are you supposed to go to work when you're doing that every day? You know what I mean?
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, that is really beautiful. Well, I love your content. I love your videos, and I'm really cheering you on. And there's definitely a possibility we are pouring concrete all the time, and it would certainly be fun and might make sense someday to drag you up here and show you how you do it West Coast style.
I would be absolutely honored. I'm coming up in Northern Cal this summer. I could swing on up June.
You know what? Okay, we have We have a driveway coming up. Actually, we have a couple driveways inside. We have a little concrete kind of on the horizon. So let's be in touch and see if we can't make something happen.
If you're going to do the driveway and schedule, tell me when. I'll come up there because I'm going to be in Northern Cal.
Oh, I love it.
And you give me an excuse to not to work and stay away for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Well, bring a wetsuit if you're coming up here because the water's a lot colder.
Oh, I've been up there. My uncle lived all through Oregon. I had to go there every summer for a week, and I couldn't get in the water. I tried.
It's painful.
Beautiful state, man. The bridges and the greenery. Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's a different kind of a beach experience. It's great. It's just a little different than
the beach I went to. There was like wood and logs in it. I was like, "What the heck is this?"
Yeah, you know there's some beaches where it's like covered in driftwood and logs, like covered. You're like climbing over them to get to the water.
That's what I did.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
What the heck?
Yeah,
I'd never seen anything like it.
When I was a kid, you could, I don't know if they'll let you do this now, but you could like spend all day stacking it into like a huge like pile and light a fire like the size of a house just with driftwood. So there's no nails or anything. And again, I don't know if that's a good idea, but that's what we were doing when we were kids. And
it sounds fun to me.
There's a lot of wood on the beaches. That's the point. Thanks again. And we'll be in touch. For the audience, we'll link to your YouTube channel, of course. And I know you're on Instagram. And is there any other places, I guess your website, we should link them to? Instagram and the YouTube's fine. I mean, I don't even look at I don't even know what my webpage looks like. I never looked at it, or my Facebook. I don't go on either one. So YouTube, Instagram's fine. Beautiful. And I look forward to coming up, man. And thanks a lot for having me on. Okay. Thanks, Anthony. We'll catch you next time.
All right, Nate. See you later, bro.